Yo, hey, what's up guys? It's Will here from A90 Shop. So basically what we're doing today, Serge is here from Studio RSR. Basically what I'm going to be doing with Serge is installing a full 5-piece CSF race kit. This build is for the Hatch Toyota car. Basically we're going to be doing the CSF kit and the HKS intake today.
With the CSF package, I mean, obviously you get a lot of benefits out of it, keeping intake temps down, especially in hot climates like this, Arizona, Nevada, stuff like that. Right now we're going to be doing the 2 aux coolers, the heat exchanger at the same time with the transmission cooler. That's why the bumper's off. It just makes everything easier, makes everything kind of, safer to get to. You're not having to worry about poking through the meshes of the bumper and stuff like that. You just make it for a simpler install essentially. For this car, I think it'll be, a great sense of improvement, especially keeping everything hidden essentially. So it's not stuff that you see, but it's stuff that you do get benefits from it, exactly. Right now with the heat exchanger, I'm prepping it before I put it in there. There's just a few attachment pieces that CSF provides. They're actually really nice quality. They even have like cushions and whatnot for the trans cooler to sit in. So I'm gonna build those on outside first. The mesh, sometimes you put it on prior, sometimes I don't. If I have the bumper off, you have a lot more access to do everything while it's in the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on without the mesh, and then once the mesh is in there, I'll go ahead and put the trans cooler on, put the mesh on, and then it'll give me a much easier install than having to do everything outside and then kind of fitting a little bigger of a heat exchanger in there. So some of the main benefits of just installing this kit, especially all at once, is getting that. One is increased fluid capacity. The heat exchanger is obviously a lot bigger than the stock one. The trans cooler is almost double the size of the stock one. If you see the stock one, it's a single row, and what the CSF does is essentially adds a second one of these in line with it. So it pretty much doubles the capacity of the stock transmission cooler. So with that being said, you're getting increased transmission fluid capacity, you're getting increased coolant capacity in the heat exchanger and both aux coolers. And then that is ultimately giving you more longevity when it comes to your cooling capability. So your car is going to be able to pull longer essentially. It's going to be able to go ahead and do those pulls more consecutively over and over and over again, to where with the stock cooling, you would maybe after 1 or 2 pulls, you start getting that heat soak, that diminishing power. This one is going to not make it unnoticeable or invincible, I should say. It's gonna just give you that longevity to be able to do it longer, back to back to back. So right now we just went ahead and finished up the trans and the heat exchanger. Right now we're just doing the 2 aux coolers. We already went ahead and finished up the driver's side. They're not too bad once you get the fender liners out and everything. It makes it a lot easier to get to. Sometimes people will try to take off half of it and try to work their way around it. It's just so much easier just to do it all once at the beginning, and then you don't have to worry about it getting in the way or anything like that. These are the CSF units. It's nice that they come all anodized black. It's not all different colors. Everything is all one color, and it comes with the screen already pre-mounted on for you. Usually, depending on which applications, they have the screens available in the box, but these, since they're all kind of one size fits all, everything's pre-built for you. That makes it very easy for install. Another thing that makes it easy for install, because they're OEM replacements essentially, they fit just like OEM. So you're actually able to put them in and then take the other ones out or disconnect them and reconnect them, to where it makes the install very easy, being that it's an OEM replacement, just upgraded essentially, making it a little bigger for fluid capacity as well, and adding those extra cooling fins and all that as well. So right now I'm getting ready for the HKS intake, getting the stock intake inlet off. Alright, so right now we're going ahead and putting the box in all together. It's the HKS, this is the entire system, so one part of it is just the intake itself, and then they sell a complete box that actually makes it a complete cold air intake essentially. So that's what we're building now inside of it. It's really nice construction. It's all carbon fiber. The inside is actually left raw. They don't use any additional resin or anything like that, so that's actually nice. It helps. Obviously, the benefits of having a box is you don't get that excess heat from outside. It keeps everything in one area, coming from one exact area. You can actually see here the ducts that it could travel through. It's deep in there, right behind the headlight. but it actually comes straight into the intake, and that is the box that it actually is pulling the air from. So it gives it that nice, controlled airflow from exactly where you want it. All right, so we got the whole intake system in now. Now we're literally just putting the top box cover on it now. We'll go ahead, the HKS has a nice little sticker they have to brand it as well, so we'll go ahead and make sure that's put on. Right now, I mean, it's pretty much it for this car. We're gonna just go ahead and start buttoning it up. Full HKS intake system installed and perfect, ready to go. Gonna go ahead and throw the bumper back on, fender liners and the wheels, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this car up. All right guys, well that's it for today. First part of the install, we went ahead and got the heat exchanger in, the trans cooler, and the 2 aux coolers, along with the HKS full intake system. It is the one with the full carbon fiber box and everything like that, so we went ahead and got that in there as well. Tomorrow we'll be tackling the intake manifold portion itself. That should be pretty flawless install. It's just going to be more in depth and kind of go over everything. That way we kind of get some nice reviews, get some nice looks at everything, really in depth, and go ahead and focus, you know, a day on that nice install with how in depth it is. So for now, we'll go ahead and leave it the way it is. All the wheels are back on, bumpers back on, everything's bolted up, ready to go for tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and wait till then. All right guys, so we're back here with the Hatch Toyota Supra. We're finishing up the last piece of the CSF package, which is the intake manifold. So right here we have the billet, raw version of it. So it'll be a nice little contrast, and then we'll have a nice carbon fiber engine cover cut out for it to make sure it shows off it. So first, what I love about CSF, VF, and all them, the packaging is just amazing. If you see, everything's labeled and kind of coded to exactly what you need in the instructions. The instructions are super informative. Everything's, I mean, pictures, there's everything where it comes to specs of every bolt that goes in to how you do it and whatnot. So here's the main piece that usually everybody wants to see, the intake manifold. So that's it there. So another thing, really, what I like about the kit is it comes with really in-depth instructions. I mean, as you see, it shows literally a hardware kit of everything. Shows schematics of everything as well. Everything's labeled for you and all that. So right now we're going to go ahead and lay out the kit, get it ready for install, and then once we get it all laid out, we'll go ahead and remove the intake manifold. It doesn't take too long, and then go ahead and get this one going in there. On this particular kit, we are not going to be running the port injection, so we're going to be running the caps on all the injector nozzles to make sure that there are no type of leaks or anything like that. And then everything will be tied in to where everything is OEM, just obviously with the intake manifold installed. Alright, so right now we're finishing up taking off the intake manifold, taking off the last bolt. Gonna go ahead, once we do that, I've already unhooked one of the lines, but in a way you got to maneuver the intake manifold a little bit, get the other one off. Then with that, we'll go ahead and pull the intake manifold off, prep the other CSF one, and then go ahead and throw it on back in here. Alright guys, so right now we are finishing up the final tightening of all the injector caps. This car is not going to be running port injection, so right now we're just going to go ahead and keep everything for the manifold with no port injection. So we just finished tightening up those. We're going to go ahead and put the brackets because we do want all the OEM factory wire looms and everything to make sure they're clipped down. That's, you know, that's one of the benefits of this, is it looking almost completely like stock with all the factory location of wiring, and all the harnesses are able to go right back onto the intake manifold as normal. Alright, so right now what we're doing is we're swapping over the stock intake manifold gaskets over to the CSF unit. What I do like about the CSF unit versus other brands you get the nice little serrated edges here that keep the gasket in. It's literally exactly like the OEM ones, but usually people just end up putting just a straight round feature, and luckily CSF does that, copy that, and mimics the OEM unit. We just went ahead and finished up torquing down the last of the intake manifold bolts. Now we're going to go ahead and start putting all the accessories back on, all the wiring and stuff like that. For this setup, at this time, we're not going to do port injection, so we left the rail off, but we did put the caps in. That way we're still going to go ahead and have the cut carbon fiber engine cover. We'll have that sexiness of the CSF manifold as well. So that will definitely be a plus there, but now we're just going to go ahead and start connecting everything up, and then we should go ahead and start running a coolant bleed and have the car done. Alright guys, so right now I'm just finishing up putting in the ECU, running all the wiring harness. Luckily again with CSF makes it so nice. Everything just clips right into place, just like it would from the factory. It makes it very simple to use, very user-friendly I should say. So now we have everything integrated with the CSF system, all the OEM EGR and everything as well. So now again, like I said, we took out the ECU just for precaution, just to have it out. You know, we're working with coolant, we don't want stuff around the area. So right now we're just going ahead plugging everything back in. We're going to do a full coolant bleed, and with the intake manifold you have to make sure you bleed it completely from the top two ports. People think you can just go ahead and bleed it through here, causes the air bubble, causes the car to rise in intake temps. It's pretty much all it rises in, but you definitely see a difference when it's not bled properly. So what we do is we run the coolant bleed procedure. I bleed from there manually while running the coolant bleed procedure, and as it's done bleeding here, the coolant bleeding procedure runs for about 11 minutes. So it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to bleed from there. I close that out, and then it bleeds from the tank itself. Alright guys, so we just went ahead and finished wrapping up the Hatch Toyota Supra. Luckily, there's no complications or anything like that. We went ahead and finished the intake manifold install today. Yesterday we did the full 4-piece front, the trans cooler, heat exchanger, and the 2 auxiliary radiators, one on either side. Today we just wanted to get a little more in-depth with the intake manifold. That way we go over a little more specific, a little more in-depth with everything going on. So we just went ahead and finished up doing the factory coolant bleed procedure. You gotta always make sure you go ahead and cover those bases, especially when it comes to coolant and all that. So we did go ahead and just finish that up. Now everything is checked off. Everything seems to be running fine. The car is gonna go get test driven real quick by Will. And all in all, everything went pretty smooth. Hopefully from this, especially being a completely stock car, we're just gonna see continued temps being kept down very low. It's definitely one of the most prettiest pieces here, especially utilizing all the factory clips and everything. All the harnesses and everything have their factory locations, even the ones in the back there, and all the evap lines as well, so that's always a nice touch as well. So did the HKS intake on top of all that, but with that being said, I think it's finally to say that we're done with this one for now and see what else we can do with it later in the future.